So we're going to do a quick translucency tutorial today. So you can see here translucency is light that transfers through an object, but is a little bit different from transparency because you can't see all the way through. But you can see the shadows occluding the object. So we have this object here. You can see that in a volumetric version of this, the translucency is coming through here. On paper, you can see through it, but you can't see details. Candle will have a translucency effect. And this is the Maya one. This is transparency, this is translucency 0.5, and this is full translucency. And what we're going to do is we're going to see the difference between something with volume, like the sphere, and something that's flat. We're just going to use our FAA base file right here. And the first thing we need to know and do is let's make it a little bit dark so we can see the effect a little bit. So in mental ray, I'm going to go to indirect lighting, image based lighting, and I'm going to bring this down, and I'm just going to do a quick render, see what it looks like. Should be a little dark. So the other thing that we need to keep in mind when we're doing translucency is we need to have a light source. So let's go back to this, and you'll see that each of these images are backlit, and this one is not backlit, but the light source is here and it's going through here. So that's an important thing. You have to have a light source, and you can see the translucency most effectively when it's backlit. So we're going to create a spotlight right here, and I'm going to look through selected, and I'm going to shine this from behind. So first we'll render this using ray trace shadows, light radius 1, shadow rays 1, and intensity of 1. And we'll render this, and we should have some nice backlit spotlight. Alright. So the key to the MIA shader version of translucency is that there is a connection between transparency and translucency. You need to understand that you cannot have translucency without transparency. So in this case, I'm going to create a translucent object that is fully translucent. Sorry, yes. So I'm going to move my transparency to 1, and I'm going to turn translucency on. So there is this weight option. Unless we want this to be transparent, we need the weight to be all the way to 1, and you'll see it gets black, but that's okay. So transparency of 1, translucency weight 1. Now to make it less or more translucent, we're just going to play with the transparency. Alright. Now if we were going to create a translucent piece of glass, we might play with the weight. But in this case, if we're looking at these examples, the leaf, the paper, the candles, this is where we have translucency weight 1. This is very important. Alright, so I turned on translucency, my transparency is 1, and now my translucency color, let's just make it nice easy red, and I'm going to turn it on and render it, and you'll see that this is 100% translucent. similar to this object right here. Okay. Alright. Now, when it's 100% translucent, and the light is fully behind it, we don't see any of the texture here. Now, if we wanted something where we actually see the texture, we might want to turn down how transparent it is. By turning down how transparent it is, we're going to have just a little bit of translucency showing through. Transparency, 0.4. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to be able to see the details of the object and the translucency going on there. Alright. So these objects are solid, and you can see here how the translucency is showing through. You can have it just a little bit translucent, like for example you could do 0.1 transparency, and we'll see it even more translucent, or even less translucent. There will just be a little hint of translucency. You can barely see it, but what is happening is it's actually a little bit brighter than it normally would be, and you can see it coming through just a little bit through here and through here. You can compare it to 0 if you want. So if we compare it to this one, you can see how it just looks a little bit different right here. So this is with translucency or transparency 0.1 and full translucency. Let's bring it back up to 0.4 so we can kind of see it. And we'll render that out. So, like I said, these objects right here are solid. But Mental Ray has a special way of rendering objects that are just one polygon thin. So we'll look at this example right here. So you see this plane right here, it's one polygon thin. So we're going to have to turn on something special for that. We're going to create a polygon plane. Move it forward. So what's going to be fun about this is the A and the F are going to cast shadows on this. And let's go to our Hypershade and create a new texture. Alright, MIU material X. This new material, we don't really want reflection, so we're going to turn that off. Reflectivity, 0. So now it doesn't have reflections. And we're going to bring it up to transparency 1, translucency, weight 1, and I'm going to make this yellow just so it's a different color. Now, because this is a single polygon object, we need to turn something special on. In refraction, we are going to turn on advanced refractions right here, and we're going to turn on thin walled. So this one is a solid, these are solids, these objects are thin walled. So I need to turn that on, and I turn it on, and let's render this out. And you can see this is fully translucent. And the shadow is shining through here. Alright, and this is what we call thin walled. And if we want, we can make it transparent like 0.4 also, so that it's a little more similar to something like this. So it's not 100%. And then let's render this out. Just to be able to see it better. So this is exactly, this grain is right there. That's nice. But let's make this a nice blue. We can see this just a little better. So you can see the blue showing through. Maybe not too much, but this blue is like this texture right here. And it's going to be a little dark. So the blue is here, and then the yellow is the translucency showing, the light transmitting through. You can even see this nice beautiful blue kind of bounce light right here, and this yellow bounce light that final gathering is doing. So now one more thing is the light. So if you notice, this is very sharp, and if we look at our reference image, not so sharp right here. So how do we do that? We can do that through the light radius right here. So let's do 0.2, and let's render this out, and that's going to make blurrier shadows. See that? Getting a little bit of blurriness. Alright, if we want, we could even go further. Let's do 2 total. Very blurry shadows right here. So we're getting more of this effect right here. Right here, where it's blurry. And that's through the light radius of the ray trace shadows of our light. Now, if you notice, it's really jittery right here. So if we want to smooth that out, we need to go to shadow rays. So let's try 16 first. The more shadow rays you have, the longer the render. So you want to keep it low if possible, but you know, for the final render, if you test it out, maybe you can keep it at 1, 1, 1, or even 16. And this is looking a little bit better, but it's still pretty noisy. So let's go to 32 instead. Let's render that. So that's 19 seconds. Let's try. When it's 32 rays, let's see how. Looking better. Much better. A little bit of noise, but you know, I think it's okay. But you can see that the render time is actually significantly more when you up those rays. So from 19 seconds to 25 seconds. But it's kind of looking good. I would say if I was going to do a final render, I would change this to 64.